Right after the not guilty verdict in Diddy's case, Jaguar Wright's warning Cassie that Diddy might be looking for revenge and his daughters seem ready to back him up. Here's what's going on. Jaguar Wright has never hidden how she feels about Diddy. She's been one of his most outspoken critics for years. But during his trial, she took things to another level, calling out Diddy, his family, and especially his daughters. She made comments about how the twins acted during the case, even suggesting they didn't seem sad enough.
Hey girls, congratulations on your graduation. Have you spoken to your dad? How's he holding up?
At first, the twins stayed quiet. They didn't want to stir up more attention while their dad was still in court. But know that the trial's over and Diddy beat charges. They're not staying silent anymore. Jesse and Delilah are clapping back hard. And from the looks of it, they're ready to stand up to Jaguar directly. So, why is Jaguar so focused on twins and not Diddy's other daughter? Chance? Well, some people think it's because of how the girls handle themselves in public. Willie Chance has stayed quiet and kept a low profile through the whole thing. The twins have been active, attending events, posting on social media, and still living at luxury concerts, vacationing on yachts, and hanging out at exclusive parties. Basically, they've kept living their lives the way they always have. But that's exactly what's bothering people like Jaguar, with everything going on around their dad, including serious allegations and long-standing rumors about their mom, Kim Porter's sudden death. Some folks expected the girls to stay out of the spotlight. Instead, they seemed louder than ever, and to Jaguar, it looked like they didn't care. There's been a lot of talk online about Kim Porter's passing. Some believe she was planning to release a tell-all book before she died. The story goes that Kim had been writing about Diddy's world behind the scenes, his lifestyle, his secrets, and everything she witnessed while they were together. That rumor has made some people wonder if her death was more than just a tragedy.
Albie Shore, who has a son with Kim Porter, that's Quincy, right?
Yeah.
Has kind of for a while, spoke about this conspiracy theory that Puffy has something to do with Kim Porter's death or something like that. I personally have never believed that. Do you think there's any truth in that at all?
I don't want to believe it. You know what I'm saying? But I also ain't know everything, all this stuff that's going on. So one thing I know that Puff loves is money more than anything in the world. You know what I'm saying? So with me not knowing all of this other stuff that was going on, I don't know mentally. Like mentally, I can't even see him doing half of the shit that they have proven that he's been doing. So in my mind, the way that I see him with the kids and the way I seen him with Kim and everything like that, I would say if somebody was to ask me, I would say no, he don't have nothing to do with it. But after everything that I've been seeing lately and everything that's going on, I don't want the media to sway me in one way or another. I would say no. But then if Kim was talking about threatening to come out with different things, I don't put that past her.
I spoke to Al a couple of times. A proper investigation so all the family members can feel like that there was no foul play in her death. How is it that, and it was about 100 degrees, me and him, we talk about this all the time because he be laughing about it. He walked through Eddie F, he was going to Eddie F house in a black leather suit and it was about 100 to be working for him.
And when a book claiming to be Kim's secret memoir popped up online, things exploded. Some believed it was the very book she had been working on. But Diddy's kids were quick to shut that down. Jesse, Delilah, and Chance released a statement saying the book was fake and that their mom never wrote anything like that. They said clearly, claims that our mom wrote a book are simply untrue. Anyone claiming to have a manuscript is misrepresenting Tim's. Jaguar Wright though agree with them.
Diddy was highly paranoid right before Kim passed away. And when he found out that her and Cassie were still secretly talking and meeting, it became that pieces of that memoir have been acquired by the home team, and that bad actors were incorporated so that they could put just enough spin to create reasonable doubt in the jury pool. It's a smart play, because there is no way that these two people who really had absolutely nothing to do with anyone involved around are people that Diddy has issues with. It lined up too good in his favor when you really think about it. And if I were him and I had a team of PR agents, the first thing that I would have done is let's get our hands on a piece of the book, get as much as we can. We'll take as much trash as we can, throw it around it, and put it out there. Now, I'm not saying that that's what these authors did. I'm saying that whatever they got, it was prepackaged for them to earnestly move forward with it as it was real. But I'm telling you, this is orchestrated. This woman, for months and years, was silently trying to get the pieces of her diary out there. So if anything happened to her, people would know the truth. I truly doubt what she wanted everyone to know was all of this weird stuff. But I tell you what it does do. It creates sympathy for the devil, because the way those stories were spun in these narratives, it made everyone seem like they were just as bad as Diddy, right? Whatever tapes he turned over, they already have. They already have. Whatever Kim was able to get and parcel out, she got it from Diddy directly. Which means this could be nothing more than clips that were taken from what the FBI has already uncovered, what they already took in. I think that's why they put the gag order, because they just wanted to make sure that he couldn't say anything else.
Despite the rumors, the twins have stewed B. Diddy. They've shown up to court, been seen supporting him, and stayed active on social media. To them, loyalty to their dad seems more important than staying quiet to please the internet. But according to several reports, even though they stood strong on the outside, the trial was hard on them. Some sources say the girls were deeply shaken by some of the testimony they heard in court, especially from one woman who described things that allegedly happened behind closed doors. That kind of information can be traumatizing no matter how strong Samin tries to appear. Diddy Thou seems to be bouncing back.
The other news of the day, and we're following some breaking news in the Sean Combs prostitution case. His defense lawyers just dropped their push to speed up his sentencing. It comes after Combs was acquitted last week of the most serious charges against him, but convicted on 2 lesser charges and remains behind bars while he awaits his sentencing. Eyewitness News reporter Kimberly Richardson is live in Lower Manhattan. And Kim, there was a lot of back and forth on this issue today between attorneys.
Listen, yeah, and all that back and forth actually happened before today's 2 o'clock hearing. The hearing lasted less than 2 minutes and literally was a full circle moment. All parties involved agreed to the judge's original sentencing date of October 3rd. This was all done by conference call. No one was physically in the courtroom on the 24th floor here, except for members of the media and the public. We briefly did hear from Sean Combs say hello, and his attorney mentioned he was in his office. 2 federal prosecutors were also on that conference call. So as it stands now, Sean Combs will remain behind bars at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. A jury found him guilty of 2 counts of transportation to engage in last week, but the 55-year-old was acquitted of racketeering, conspiracy, and trafficking. At the time, the judge rejected a $1 million bail package and proposed October 3rd for sentencing. The defense fiercely objected, pointing out Combs was found not guilty of the most serious charges and asked the judge to expedite sentencing. Combs' legal team even went as far as citing, quote, exceptional circumstances. The fact that the mother of 4 of Combs' kids is no longer alive. Kim Porter passed away in 2018. The government urged the judge to stand firm in that October date. We did expect to hear more back and forth today, and it's not clear why the defense essentially walked back its request. Moving forward, Combs will be interviewed, and a report must be handed in on or before August 29th.
They ask him all about his background. Has he ever had any convictions? And obviously, the probation department looks up and determines whether or not that's accurate. But they interview him first. What is he doing in the community? Has he committed any, crimes? Has he donated to any charities? So they want to get all of their background on him to make a final determination, because under the federal sentencing guidelines, you have to consider all of that before you sentence an individual.
Now, one thing the defense will no doubt highlight and will hope will play into the judge's sentence. They insist that Sean Combs has been in therapy and working on himself, something Combs claims was actually happening at the time of his arrest in that Manhattan hotel room, September 16th of last year.
Now, Jaguar Wright is warning that this new energy from Diddy's daughters might mean he's ready to make moves. And she's telling Cassie to watch her back. Whether or not Diddy actually plans to get revenge, it's clear his daughters are done playing nice. They've stepped into the spotlight and they're not afraid to push back. Sources say Jessa and Delilah left the courtroom in tears, clearly shaken by what they heard. And honestly, based on the disturbing claims the escort made during her testimony, nobody's really surprised they couldn't sit through the entire thing. At first, Jaguar seemed to feel sorry for their girls. She even claimed they were only supporting Diddy because he was controlling them financially. But that sympathy didn't last long. Especially since the twins started flaunting their lifestyle again, even while Diddy was still behind bars. Not long ago, Jessa and Delilah shared that they weren't planning to attend college after high school. They're seniors now, but ya wouldn't think their dad was facing serious charges by the way they've been carrying themselves.
The college that you're committed to. Since Jesse and I are not going to college, we're going to be wearing one of our brand hoodies. Yeah. Because we are rapping that we will be business owners.
Here are Diddy's twin daughters talking about how they will not be attending college after high school. These two are a senior currently, and you would not think that their father is currently incarcerated against these charges because they are acting like nothing has happened. Also, I think it's interesting they're not going to college. They're going to assume the role as business owners, which no shade to them, but a business degree might help. Maybe even one of you guys becoming a lawyer could maybe help the family out. I don't know how they do it. I mean, I feel like I wouldn't be able to show my face, but these two are out and about. They went to their college prom wearing the same dress, which, we love twins that dress alike. I did see some shady posts on Lipstick Alley where people were calling out the fact that they always wear the same clothing, which, is cute if you're a twin and you're like 6 years old. I don't know. You'd think maybe growing up they would start to separate a little bit, but they're not. Honestly, I pray for these girls because of what their mother had gone through and the current situation with their father. I feel like they could use some prayers. I don't know, something does irk me a little bit with how they are just so nonchalant. Like, they truly do not care.
Word on the street is Jaguar Wright hasn't let up. She's been accusing the twins of being straight-up psychopaths who don't care about the alleged victims, as long as the money keeps flowing. Jaguar believes their loyalty isn't really about love or family. It's about keeping access to the lifestyle they've always had. Their reaction to Diddy's verdict was certainly interesting, as was the rest of the families.
Once court was adjourned, family members cheered today's verdict. Combs' son, Christian, telling ABC News how happy he is.
Hey, yo, we love y'all. We love everybody watching. So happy. Pop's coming home. God bless. God bless the whole world.
What was going through your head when the verdict was read? Happy.
He is still facing up to 20 years in prison on these lesser charges. They are arguing he should be held until his sentencing, Kira.
So, Bernarda, if Combs does stay in custody, how much jail time do you expect he would actually serve?
So in terms of if the judge does decide that Sean Combs remains in custody pending sentencing, the judge will ultimately determine what his sentence is. You have to think that the sentencing is not going to take place in another week or two. We're talking about months from now that the sentence will take place. And in terms of all the time that he's already been in custody, he's going to get credit for that time. So no matter what amount of sentence the judge sentences him to, he'll get credit for about the 9 months that he has been in custody. Yes, he faces a maximum of 10 years. years on each of those counts. Highly unlikely that this judge is going to max Sean Combs out. He can give him probation, he could give him time served, or give him something more of a year, 2 years, or even 3 years on each of these counts.
So, Kelly, how does this verdict impact Combs' legacy as an entertainer, as a music mogul moving forward, do you think?
I think it does impact his legacy because we have to talk about this in addition to talking about his 3 decades as being a pop culture icon. You know, this is a human who has touched every facet of business, of industry, you know, politics, film, TV, music, Broadway, spirits, fashion, you know, but we also now have to talk about this case and the role that that plays and that legacy. And I think it's significant because unfortunately people are going to be able to unhear some of that testimony that they read, and they're most certainly going to be able to unsee that video footage from that 2016 Intercontinental incident between him and Cassie Ventura. And I think that that's going to be part of the conversation moving forward.
Another theory is floating around, too. Some folks think the twins were living it up recently because they were worried court might freeze Diddy's money if was found guilty. There were even whispers that the girls were prepared to leave the country and access funds Diddy allegedly had tucked away in their name-sand offshore accounts. What's interesting, though, is that Diddy's sentencing date has now been adjourned.
Sentencing date hearing unexpectedly adjourned following the conviction of Sean Diddy Combs last week. In fact, defense attorneys and federal prosecutors initially agreed to a September 22nd sentencing date for Combs. This is ahead of a remote hearing that was set for this afternoon. But shortly before the hearing, attorneys for both sides sent a joint letter to the judge saying that they had agreed to the original proposed sentencing date of October 3rd. Combs was acquitted of racketeering, conspiracy, and convicted on 2 counts of prostitution-related charges. He faces a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison on those counts. And our ABC News chief investigative correspondent Aaron Katursky has the latest.
Okay, Sean Combs is going to be sentenced this fall after he was convicted of 2 counts of prostitution-related charges that together carry a maximum prison term of up to 20 years. He is unlikely to get that much, but federal prosecutors are expected to ask for at least 5 years. Combs will receive credit for time served, which will subtract about a year from the ultimate sentence. His acquittal on racketeering conspiracy charges took away the possibility of life in prison for Combs, who's preparing to ask for leniency. The defense has already argued Combs has taken steps to address what the judge called a propensity for violence, as seen on 2016 hotel security camera footage. And his attorney said Combs began a batterers program in New York prior to his arrest. The defense has also argued Combs did not make money from prostitution, but rather was the primary client of the male escorts he was convicted of transporting. His attorneys were prepared to ask for an expedited sentencing. They backed off that at the last minute, and so the judge has set Sean Combs' sentencing for October 3rd.
Last year, when Diddy offered up his kids' passports to make bail, fans started connecting the dots. One fan said they're likely the names on offshore accounts. They don't want him owing money overseas or paying people off or silencing people with. The money in offshore accounts can't get to the accounts without going there. Some large withdrawals need to be in person to initiate. But in the end, the twins didn't have to go anywhere. The jury found Diddy not guilty on the most serious RICO charges. While he was found guilty on some other charges, it's unlikely he'll be spending decades in prison. Some reports say he might avenge it time served and be released soon, and that means their inheritance is safe, which could explain why the twins are now bold enough to go after Jaguar. Jaguar also explained that Diddy has a...
I was thinking to myself the other day, Uptown Records started with 5 people. Andre Harrell, I'll Be Sure, Heavy D, and Puffy. And Kim was the longest working employee because she was there from the very beginning. She was Andre's personal assistant. Kim's dead. Heavy D is dead. Andre Harrell is dead. The only 2 left are Puffy and Al almost died. Isn't that interesting?
That is interesting.
Heavy D was found dead, face down in the heart attack. Andre Harrell, heart attack. Kim died from pneumonia, but there's the first coroner's report that said that she died. It was ruled a homicide, and they found toxins in her body to prove that she had been poisoned. You know, they have poisons that create heart attack and pneumonia-like symptoms. And then right after that, Al had a meeting, and I was going.
Prosecutors want him to serve 4 or 5 years. CNN's Elizabeth Wagmeister said the government would like for him to serve consecutive sentences on these C2 charges, meaning that it would be one after another to get him more time. Attorney Tony Busby, who represents real people suing Diddy, said, "I get to fight the good fight if someone comes to me and they say they've been victimized by somebody powerful, somebody famous, but there are only a few people in the country that have the courage to represent them, and I'm proud to be one of those." Tony actually had a very heated discussion with DJ Vlad about the trial verdict on Piers Morgan recently.
Well, we're going to find out, Vlad. We're going to find out, Vlad, whether any of these civil cases do end up.
None of them will be won. Maybe one or two will be settled because of their headaches.
Okay,
None of them will
there
be
are over
won
100 people.
The one thing I do find very distasteful is there are reports that Diddy got a standing ovation in prison when he returned from this verdict. Because
people like Brad.
Because his lawyer said that they love the idea of him beating the feds, and you know when you watch that video, when you watch the video of him beating up Cassie Ventura, the idea that guy becomes any kind of hero, I think, would stick in all our gut. Can we agree on that?
He's not exactly an esteemed company. He's in a prison. Yeah.
But he's not. He shouldn't be treated as a hero.
Of course not. And I mean, in some of the comments you've been reading online, I do think the prosecution failed Cassie in a way, because now we're having a debate about, you know, her motivations. Was she actually just, you know, in on all of this and just trying to
but
get
you know
money?
what, Esther, when I interviewed the Punisher, I really did change my view about this whole case.
But she was 9 months pregnant, testifying about the most grotesque things.
I know, but she also had taken a massive payout before.
Which she deserved. She deserved it.
Okay, but according to the Punisher, over 2 years, it was all driven by her, all consensual, and she was completely happy. And when he said that under oath, and then repeated it all to me, and I got to be honest with you, I slightly changed my view about the whole case based on his testimony. I thought that if that was indicative of what was really going on, then how much of a victim was she? She was a victim of domestic violence, but as Vlad said, that was not what Diddy was on trial for. Anyway, look, it's a fascinating case. I've got to leave it there.
So, now the big question is, are Jess and Delilah trying to silence Jaguard because she's been loud and annoying? Or is it something deeper? Could Jaguar really know something that will bring even more trouble to their father?